It's not very often that I get a piece of kit that I want to use both personally and professionally. The DJI Mini 3 Pro is the first drone I've ever owned personally, and I've been extremely happy with the results. It's not perfect, and I mean what is, but it's a product that has both expanded my possibilities both for my business and the creative side of what I do. In today's video, I want to explore why I think the Mini 3 Pro is the perfect drone for beginners and professionals alike, some of my best tips for getting the most out of it, and some of the downsides and why you might choose an Air 2S or Mavic 3 instead. This is the stuff I wish I knew when purchasing this drone. If you're new here, my name is Matt Quattro. I'm a videographer based in Melbourne, Australia, and my passion is making really nice images, and my job is helping businesses make great videos. Make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and with that out of the way, let's get flying. The Mini 3 Pro is now 4 months old, and I was there on day one picking up my pre-order. I've been looking around to buy a drone for a while, but I can never quite fully justify it. In my line of work, which is a lot of corporate, drones aren't required on most jobs, but they're still a useful tool, and I've honestly lost work in the past by not having one. The Mini 3 Pro seemed to fit the bill perfectly, with excellent video quality, sporting a 10-bit codec that holds up better for color grading, a small form factor that makes it ultra portable, and a great price that means I wasn't investing in something that could cause me a lot of distress if I wasn't using it most days. I decided to get the RC remote because I love the idea of not having to use my phone while flying the drone. It can be such a pain to be interrupted by calls or messages, especially when you're in deep concentration trying to get a shot and not crash your drone at the same time. The RC remote ensures you're up and flying faster, and the screen is bright enough and responsive enough that it's honestly worth the extra amount of money not to hassle with cables, and remember to flick your phone into Do Not Disturb. The image quality of the Mini 3 is also excellent. The 4K images up to 60 frames per second is perfect for what I need, and the 10-bit codec means the image is able to withstand more intensive color grading and prevents color banding in skies, which is where you tend to see those blocks of color rather than a smooth gradient. It doesn't have D-Log, but it does have D-City-like, which flattens out the image contrast and colors so you can add it back later at your discretion. Of course, I wish it had more dynamic range, but for the price range of this drone, I'm more than happy with what I'm getting. The drone is also really quiet, which I love. Having bigger props on something like a Mavic 3 means you have a louder sound, and sometimes you just don't want to attract that extra attention. When flying in nature, drones can easily ruin the peace and quiet, and having something a little bit softer just makes it less likely to cause any annoyance from others who aren't seeing these amazing images that you're capturing. As much as I'd like to be flying an Inspire 2 around my local neighborhood for the best image quality, I don't think the community would appreciate having a small helicopter flying around at 6:30 AM in the morning. Also, for flying indoors and on location with clients, it's nice again not to cause too much of a headache for those around you. However, there are some certain downsides to this drone, with number one being the lack of obstacle avoidance on the sides and above the drone. When purchasing it, I didn't think it'd be too much of an issue, but more than I've probably realized, I found myself doing a lot of moves which require lateral movement and trying to focus on both the video preview and where the drone is at the same time. When flying indoors or tight spaces, you need to be really careful not to fly it into walls or ceilings. I've had a few close calls and one incident where the drone flew itself into the side of a building and fell 3 stories, but that was also due to a really low battery, which I'll get to later. Basically, if you'd prefer something with more full obstacle avoidance sensors, then the Mavic 3 might be worth the extra money with its 360 degrees obstacle avoidance. Because remember, even the Air 2S also lacks the side sensors too. The second big downside for me is actually a double-edged sword. It's lightweight, which makes it extremely portable and quiet, and just generally more versatile. But that comes with a big caveat. It's also not able to handle wind as well as the bigger boys. Here in Melbourne where I live, it's notorious for its windy days, which can easily have wind gusts of up to 40 kilometers an hour, and the Mini 3 has a good way of making you feel very nervous when that happens. The controller repeatedly reminds you that there are heavy winds and that the return to home has been disabled, or recommending you reduce your altitude. And given how lightweight it is, you can see it being battered up there in the sky. I will say, it does handle it extremely well, with the video you're capturing still being rock solid for the most part. And you can keep flying if you wish. But my recommendation in high winds is always make sure you're flying against the wind when you're sending out the drone so you know you can bring it back. This is especially important when you're out by water, because if your drone can't battle the winds while it's out at sea, you can say goodbye to it. If you're someone who again uses drones professionally, especially for real estate work where you need to fly no matter the conditions, again, an Air 2S or Mavic 3 with a higher weight probably makes more sense. The Mini 3 Pro also isn't as fast as those other drones too, but to determine whether that's a problem, I'd probably ask what it is you're filming. If you're low to the ground, things will always appear faster than 120 meters in the air, so you can probably give the impression of more speed if you're filming subjects lower to the ground. I will say this probably isn't a drone for filming car commercials, but for most of what I do, it's either slower moving indoor shots, capturing details, or establishing shots which don't need to be anything too fast paced. If you're more into filming action and sports, an FPV drone like the newly announced DJI Avata probably is more the one to go for, which can pull off some more seriously impressive moves. Lastly, I want to include a few tips that might help some of you make a better buying decision when getting this drone. One of the biggest ones is which Fly More combo to buy, because you will need it. Now, it comes down to your usage, but I'd recommend you go the Plus version, and here's why. When you buy the drone, it comes with the stock battery, which gives you around 34 minutes of flight time while keeping the drone under 250 grams. Then there's the Fly More kit and the Fly More Kit Plus. The latter includes 2 larger batteries with 47 minutes of flight time each. Originally, I pre-ordered the standard Fly More kit, but because it was taking way too long to arrive, I ended up spending the extra $100 for the Plus version to get it sooner. The main downside to the Fly More Plus kit is those bigger batteries make the drone heavier than 250 grams, which may cause you to adhere to some more strict regulations depending on where you're located around the world. However, the upside is those batteries give you much longer flight time, which can make a big difference. I find the 34 minutes quoted for the standard batteries very generous. Once you start flying, it's almost like the battery meter starts counting down, whereas the Plus batteries give you way longer. On a job, I was recently waiting for a crowd to start moving, and I had the drone hovering for a good half an hour. Thankfully, they did eventually start moving, and I landed the drone with around 15% battery. Now, if that had been the standard batteries, I reckon I would have nearly gone through 2 of them in that time, having to return the drone to do a changeover midway through. If you think you'll need the extra flight time, go the Plus batteries. But the good thing is DJI actually don't sell it as a bundle, so what you can do first is purchase the drone, test the batteries, and see which one would suit you better. Okay, the care plan. While this is totally up to you, seeing as it's basically insurance, and previously working in retail, I was always reminded here in Australia you can't legally recommend insurance to people. I will say I did buy it in the end. Initially I didn't, but I had an incident where the drone was running critically low on battery, and upon trying to land it, it flew itself into the side of a building. It was not a great experience, especially in front of a client. But thankfully DJI repaired it for free, and upon receiving my new model, I purchased the plan just in case. Honestly, despite all the progress on drone technology, you can still easily crash this one if you wanted to. And the more times you fly it, the more chances you have of something going wrong. Of course, also don't fly your drone until the battery is critically low either, but if you have the budget for it, the care plan might be a worthwhile investment.
I'm in a grassy field at the moment, and it's been raining a lot recently, so therefore the ground's really sloshy. One of the top tips I recommend is learning to take off your drone from your hand and land it on your hand as well. It will save you a lot of time and effort trying to find a flat surface or having to buy a helipad type device or bring a big notebook or anything like that. If you can learn to launch from your hand, it makes it much easier. I'll show you. So usually what I do is I move it to my right hand because the takeoff button is on the left-hand side. Hit the takeoff button, make sure my hand and my fingers aren't on any of the props, and then take off. Same thing for landing as well, although landings are slightly more difficult in the sense that you just got to line up your hand a little bit better. And also the drone will want to fly away just because of obstacle avoidance. So just get your hand underneath it to bring the drone down, get it to a point where it's sort of sticking, keep holding the prop, and eventually it'll just land. Makes it much easier.
But wrapping this up, what I love about this drone is it's small and light enough that you can take it traveling, avoiding a lot of regulations depending on where you are, while not compromising too heavily on image quality, giving you the best of both worlds at a price that's extremely attractive. Again, it's not perfect, and if your line of work means you're using a drone day in and day out, I would recommend more of a workhorse like the Mavic 3, where the cost will be recouped much quicker. But for me, who's been enjoying using this drone on my days off to capture some beautiful scenery for my own creative use, the Mini 3 has given me a lot of value. The lower price also means if you're a hobbyist, you can look at purchasing this drone without stretching too much and reap the benefits of that higher image quality compared to the Mini 2. It's still not a cheap drone by any means, but for me who was originally looking at spending upwards of $3,000 for the Mavic 3 Fly More combo, which would have still required me using my phone for the controller, and not having any of those ProRes options, the Mini 3 Pro is a compromise that most people will be happy to make. And the results you get will satisfy both hobbyists and professionals alike. I hope you enjoyed that video. Please like and comment with any questions, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all in the next one. Also, I don't know if you can hear that. It's like pouring rain outside, and that's another reason why if you live in Melbourne, like, it just feels pointless owning a drone because there's probably like 3 months of the year where you can actually use the damn thing.